Okay, so here's the neck. There you have it. This is the blank. And first off, we have to measure across the entire piece and divide it by half, and then establish a couple of marks like this. Just make a little tiny mark, flip it over, and make a tiny little mark again on the opposite side, just to make sure it is actually in the center, because if it's halfway on both sides, it's the middle, you know. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't make any sense to you what I just said, man, I don't know how to explain this. Make sure you have 2 marks for the middle, and then we need a ruler. I like to always make sure I'm using a ruler that is the right length for what I'm doing, and that's why I have a couple. So I'm placing this down here, and now, because this is one of those things where you really have to make sure that you're doing what you're doing, and that's what you're doing. You know, no second guessings, no nothing. I'm gonna measure this out in the video, but then I'm gonna, you know, take a break and measure it again and again and again, just to make sure that I'm actually 100% sure of what it is I'm doing. So I'm clamping it down with clamps like this, and it's just help me align this perfectly. I'm trying to tell you to do as good of a job as you possibly can, is what I'm trying to say. Make sure I'm gonna hold this up. I'm gonna readjust this. Readjust it again. Not that much. Make sure that I am dead center on those marks. Not even a 1/10 of a mil off. And then we can see? There we go. There's the center line. Let's take off the clamps. Let's hope the battery doesn't die, because I'm noticing I have a little bit less of a battery than I wish I had. Where did I put that thing that I was just using? Am I blind or something? What the hell is going on with me? Seriously? Didn't I just hold it? I need to clean up in here. It's too much of a mess. I've already lost track of things. Seriously? Never mind. We'll find something else to measure with. Where did I put it? Maybe this whole not editing videos, not doing, letting you see the process in more detail is not a good idea, because you get to see how scatterbrained I am. But I can use anything that lets me measure in detail. So, yeah, so far so good. Yeah, gonna move that line a tiny bit. It's not exactly where I want it. I'm gonna take out my clamps and my ruler again. Just hold this down. Sometimes things move while you are sleeping. No, but while you are pressing with your pen. So, to be careful. Let's see here. That looks nice. Also, try to hold the pen at the same angle all the way, because if you start off here and then you bend it like that, so you go like, oh, then everything is gonna be messed up. So, did that change anything for the better? Yes. Yes, I think we have it. I think we have it. I'm gonna double check it and I'll be back. Okay, so first I've clamped this down so that I can work with it. And the center line of my template I have lined up with the center line I just drew out. Now, if you don't know how to make templates, then this is going to be an issue for you. I think I've made videos on how to make templates. But anyway, what we're going to do now is we're going to draw out, around, like this. Super easy. And then we are gonna clamp on this. Super easy as well. Like so. Now, because I didn't make this exactly the right size, you can probably tell there's a little bit off here and off here, so we're gonna have to cut this off and glue that off on there. So let's do that real quick. I'm gonna place my template in a way where it's not too much in the way for me. Something like this maybe. And I'll clamp it down if I can. Come on, work for me. Oh, it doesn't want to work. Why doesn't it want to work? I'll clamp it down over here then. It's not super important. The only thing that matters is that it's somewhat held in place so I can saw. So, ear protection on. Let's take a jigsaw and slowly we'll just work our way up. We don't need that much, just I'll cut in here and go along for a bit. So let's see, eyeball this, there to there. I'm going to stay 2 mils away and I'm going to do the same on this side. So, take our 2 pieces. We don't need ear protection anymore because you don't need that when you're just gonna glue. So take off this. Let's take a quick look, see what would think that's the connection I want to do. Yeah, that will look nice. Take a pen, make a mark. Now I know. Line those up. Take this. And yeah, something like that maybe. Line those up, make a mark, something like that, and then let's just put some glue on this. I'll put the glue over here, hopefully it won't fall. I'll take this one. I'll use it to spread it out. Something like that. Maybe a little bit too much glue, but it's okay. I'll line this up right here, and I'll line this up right here. so. We'll take a clamp. And we'll try to clamp these in place. Just a line to the best of my ability, and a little bit better than that as well, because my best isn't good enough. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Something like that. And then a clamp over here as well. Just to make it all look good. I'll put a clamp there just to help hold this down, because it's all starting to wobble a little bit. And it's nice that everything is secured. You know? If it can be. Come on, why aren't you grabbing? Oh, it's because I know what it is I've done. Never mind. It's not important. It's just a bullshit thing that I'm doing. Okay. Go. And there we go. There we go. All right. That's it. I'm gonna leave this to dry now for 20 minutes, something, and we'll be back. Okay, so here it is. They obviously haven't dried completely because it takes 24 hours, but they've been drying for a little bit over 20 minutes now, and it's all good. So let's just see, can we put a clamp here maybe? I think so. Just trying to get this back in alignment. Sorry, no, I'm in the way. You can't see what I'm doing. Something like that. Let's redraw these lines. Something like that. All right. So the complicated thing about cutting this out is that I don't have anything to do, any good machine for it. So it's going to be a jigsaw. And jigsaws are problematic, which you may know if you've ever used one, and that is that the blade will bend. So, for example, I hope you can see the lines that I've drawn, but there is a straight line down here. It's not going to be that hard to cut, because the blade will stay like this. But going around these curved areas, if I press the machine, the blade will bend. And it's really hard to keep track of what direction the blade is going to bend if you're just going to go, you know, sawing in all directions. So you might have the blade bend outward, which will not cause an issue. But you might have it bend inward, which will cause an issue and potentially even like ruin everything. So first, ear protection, and let's get this going. So first off, let's cut the sides down. I'm gonna push this to the side, go in here, try to be easy, cut off as much as I can on this first. Then let's get in here. Let's stay 1 or 2 mil away from the actual line. Let's go a straight cut here. let's see. Yeah, I think that's okay. The blade bended a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. So let's see if we can get down this neck. Go. Stay in your place, man. And here we already had this cut out, and I stayed on the safe side here. Let's cut that off real quick. Now, here's the thing you can do if you want to, and that is you can go like this and just scrape away. But you have to be careful so you don't get tear outs where it breaks out in a way that you don't like. But the blade will never flex in that direction, it will only flex in that direction. So that's a possibility, but be careful with it because, you know, you can still mess up. So let's see if we can get this out of the way. And now, yeah, let's cut this line here. That's a good idea, I think. Okay. Yeah, when you cut this line here, you should actually cut from this side there, not like I did, because you can get tear outs. You want the blade going with the grain, not against the grain, in an area like this, because the grain is, you know, like that. You can see blade going along like that, tear outs going in like that, especially on the back where we still have, you know, the niceness. This is scooping out later, so. But if you go like this, the back of the blade is on that side. Doesn't really matter at the moment because I'm cutting so far away, but it is good practice to do things the right way, if you wanna. Okay. Like here, for example, grain is going this way, cut with the blade that way, which I know you couldn't see because I was in the way, but you know, that's the way it is. I cut in at an angle. I can actually flip this over so you can see the grain is going that way. I'm following along. I'm going to start off by easing in. Come out. And cut it away. I don't think we have any issues there. It is a little slanted, but it's slanted out, so I think we're good to go. As you can see, by moving the blade across, I can basically use it as a rasp, but I have to take really small bits off and be very gentle because I don't want to accidentally tear everything out. Okay, let's see if we can maybe cut this down a little bit. I think that's good. Okay, now comes the hard part. Let's take these off for a bit because we don't need them right now. We need masking tape and lots of it. After this I'll have to go get some more. So let's put down some masking tape all over the neck. So a piece right here, like so. Let's put a piece right here, like so. I think I just said masking tape. I think I've been saying masking tape when I say double-sided tape and mixing the two up a lot. Which I don't even know. I don't know what to say. This is one of those things. I know someone is probably like, you're overdoing it, you don't need to put down this much. I kind of know that I'm overdoing it. Believe it or not, but I've been building guitars for like 15 years or something. Or has it been 15 years? Something like that. I think I've said a bunch of different years. I can't keep track of anything, especially not time. I'm gonna move this saw here out of the way. We don't need it. Let's get this clamping on the way. Whew. Choking on the rain. I feel the pain. I'm choking back your love, 'cause I need it, baby. And if you know what I was just singing, because it just popped into my head, then we are watching the same channels in our spare time. So yeah, I think I might have. Yeah, I am gonna have an issue there. Ugh. It's a good thing that I'm gonna glue in the neck, I think. Because otherwise I would probably be in even more trouble. But yeah. Yeah, that's gonna be an issue. Well, we'll take a look at it later. Let's not paint Satan on the wall, like they say in my country. Something like that. Now, I like to put a piece of wood. I'm gonna put a clamp on this. Give me a sec. I'll explain what I'm going to do after this in a sec. Put a clamp there. Make sure everything is still aligned. Yeah. Come here, you little fucker. This is typical bullshit. Sometimes I hate clamps. They're everywhere and they're annoying. Let's put this away. I'm putting clamps down so everything will not separate while I'm doing something else. I used this piece of wood here, but as you can see it's very uneven. It's a cut off from another thing, which either the video is already live or it's not. It's something I'm working on in between other things. So yeah, I can't tell you what it is, but you might have already seen parts of it flying around and figured everything out. Anyway, I need to clean up in here. That's like what I always need to do. What was I? Yeah, the bench is it's a very good bench I have right here, but it is a little bit too low for me when I'm doing other things. So sometimes I bolt something into the clamp and I can work on it, and depending on how much higher up I want to get, I clamp different things. For example, I could clamp this piece of wood in here, and that would raise my working area because it would still be super sturdy. This is one of those industrial, real size anvil forged clamps that I have here, whatever they're called. Bench vise, I think is the name I'm looking for. So I could, I could clamp this down for real and I could have a real sturdy workspace. I don't necessarily need to be this high up to do what I'm going to do now, even though it would be nice. But I need to find a piece of wood, and I think I just did. Here we have something. I could clamp this down, just a bit, like this. And now I've raised my working space. I have a solid, good connection, a real, and I can start working. So, everything is entangled. Here is the machine we're going to use. There's no power. Oh, look, I found it. Imagine the things you can find if you clean up a little bit. The worst part is, it's such a mess in here, but I clean all the time. You never get to see that. And also everything is labeled and has a place that it goes. So there shouldn't be, it shouldn't be chaos, but it's just, I am just chaotic in nature. That's just the way it is, I suppose. Okay, let's find there. And, there we go. And we're switching back to this thing here, basically. Just screw it in and work it around. At some point I'm gonna get like see if I can find like somewhere where I can buy the chalk, the thing that I clamp the bit down with. If I can find like a big bag of those, like buy 100 or something, or buy 50 at least, so that I can have one ready for every single bit that I have, so that I don't have to like take out the bit and put it into a chalk and screw it down and mess around. I can just unscrew, screw in the next, unscrew, screw in the next, because I think that would be worth it if I can get a good price. It is one of those you know, it's a little bit buying your own laziness or whatever. There's some sort of way to think of it. But it's also a time thing. It's also a time thing. Okay, never mind. So, gently and carefully, we'll just go around the neck, clamp it down to this, so we have a nice even workspace. And we'll just move it around and slowly go around, finalize the shape. If you've seen the other videos, you understand how this works. The bit has a bearing on it. Here is one, so you can see it. And basically, the way it works is that this bit can go around the template and the cutters will follow along and nothing else be cut but what the bearing touch. If that doesn't make any sense, it will in a second when you start following the template. So here is the neck. Here's the router. And let's untangle this, put this into place, and untangle this, and put this somewhere over there maybe. Okay. And the thing is here now is make sure you don't hit anything. For example, you can't really maybe tell, but the bit will go down here, and it needs to go down far enough so that the bearing touches the template, but it can't go further than the piece of wood, because I have metal here, and if the bit hits the anvil, the bit is just going to be disintegrated. And I'm just going to cut around here. I cut all the way down here, you know, make everything nice, flip things around, we'll move around, and eventually everything will have been routed. And we're going to try to keep 2 clamps on it at all time for as long as we can, basically. And you can buy different sized bits. It doesn't have to be, you know, this large one. It's just that I don't think I have. I don't think I have a smaller sized one at the moment. Should have thought of that before. You should plan out all your builds as much as you can. Go over all your tools and everything, and make sure you have everything you need, so that you don't have any surprises on you when you go to build, because you've already planned all the steps out. But of course, I didn't do that. Why would I have done that? That would have been the smart thing to do. But it also would have taken more time, which I don't have. So, let's start off here. Push this up. There we go. It's good. Lock it. And yeah. Now you can see how I'm getting right up to the template, so the little bit that is overhanging is disappearing. There we have it. That's all good. Let's move this over here. Clamp it down. And see if we can get to over here without any real issues. Put it down. How silly of me. Why didn't you guys tell me? I forgot to cut this piece off here. I'm not paying attention to what I'm doing. Come on, get in there. And here we have end grain, things can split. So I'm going to rub from this only to the middle and not any further. You can't even see what I'm pointing at. There we go. So route halfway this, because if I come around like this I might chip that old thing out. I don't want to do that, obviously, or at least I hope. I hope that's obvious to you. Something like that. Okay. Let's put this clamp. Come on. Put this clamp back here. Let's flip this over and see if we can't do this side of the neck a little bit, at least, maybe. Oh, just you. This is probably not the best angle, but I don't want to move. So let's go around right here. And align everything. And yeah, it all looks really good. That issue that I thought we would have down here seems to have solved itself. Let's see if we can get a little bit close up here. Yeah, let's move this clamp. Push this in a bit. And if you feel like the template might be moving, feel the neck and see if you can adjust it back in place. Because you really shouldn't feel anything in between. There shouldn't be a gap, there shouldn't be anything. It should be like it's one piece. And I don't mean the anime. Whew. Let's get down. And yeah. Everything is perfect, nice, simple and smooth. Okay. Whew. Yeah, let's move this clamp here back to maybe here. Is that far enough? here maybe. This sacrificial piece of wood here, it's okay if I cut into it, but I don't want. I'm going to try to avoid, because I can always reuse it as a sacrificial piece if I don't destroy it. So it's still a good thing. I'm going to try to do this scoop here. I have a lot of wood here, and yeah. Can you see the scoop? You can't see the scoop! I don't know if zooming in will help, but this is a place where you can very easily get blowout. The grain is going that way, the router might ship it out. I'm going to try to slowly dig my way in and just take away a little bit at a time. It's better to go slow and be careful with what you're doing than to destroy everything. Right? Let me know if you agree, or if you think it's better to destroy everything. Slow and steady. Yeehaw! That's nice. That's exactly the way it's supposed to be. Okay. Let's adjust the camera again. Okay. You can see this line here. If I go this way, I'll just crush it and destroy it. But if I go this way, it will be better. Hopefully. I mean, it will. It should be. Hold your thumbs. Which is another weird saying. So now you know. Teaching you all sorts of crazy stuff. A little bit of burn up there. Interesting. Okay. Okay. That is good, that is good. I had a tiny little bit of tear out, but luckily it was before we got to the final shape, so it's not a problem. I mean, at some point I'm gonna have to do more videos about tear outs, because it's just one of those things that occurs way too much, and it's just way too annoying, and just, yeah. You can't have enough tear out, it seems. Which sucks, but it's true. It's just the way the world seems to be working. Let's see here. Clamping. I'm gonna see if I can adjust the angle here a little bit so you get a better view, because I feel like the point of these videos are not that I don't have to care about the angle, you know, to be like super lazy. Okay, this area here anyway is super problematic. This is why you should think about how you design your templates before you make them. Obviously this is This is one of those things where I've decided that what I like and what I think looks nice is worth the hassle of the work, if you know what I mean. But making little weird shapes like this is making it harder for yourself than it necessarily have to be. Just feel everything, make sure it's perfect. So yeah, we're gonna route in there. We're gonna have to, maybe I can show you and talk about it with another router bit. We're gonna have to go in here and imagine that this is spinning and just be super gentle and just take off a mil in this entire area, or not even a mil, like a third of a mil, and slowly work our way up until the bearing hits the template and we can't go any further. And yeah, I might have to stop and redo and stop and come back and forth a couple of times. I don't know, we'll have to see. Let's just get this done. I don't know how much I need to care about the routing, camera angles and things like that, because it's so hard to see what I'm doing anyway. So yeah. So far, so good. Good. Okay, we only have a little bit left. Whew. So far, we haven't had any hiccups, which I'm super happy about, because I really dislike having hiccups. It's annoying, which I think you can all agree is true. Let's remove this clamp for a bit and just try to adjust this. Push this out of the way. And as you're attaching the clamps again, don't forget to feel everywhere to see if you have a movement of the template, because you can use that feel as a guide, basically, because you've already done the work before to make sure everything is aligned the right way. Now you can feel it. So good. And now let's get the last bit here. This is also a problematic area where we can have some tear outs. I'm going to go in like that because the grade is going that way. If I go that way, I might ship it out, but I need to go slow and I need to be careful. Hey! Yes. Okay, Good. Very good. So, we can turn off the router. We have cut out the neck. Let's zoom out a bit. And maybe we can change the angle a little bit as well. Come on, camera. There we go. Okay. Zoom out a little bit more, maybe? No, I can't zoom out more. Anyway, you don't need to. There it is. We're basically done, but before we remove the template, I'm going to do something super important, or at least that I think is super important. I think you should do this too. And that is get yourself a good pen. I had a good pen here 5 seconds ago, but obviously it's gone. Dude, where did you go? I'll take this pen and I'll just make it into a good pen by sanding it. So we don't want to have to do a bunch of extra work. We want to do as little as possible. So let's get down. You can see what I'm doing. There you can see the neck. And on the side here, let's move the camera. On the side here I have the marking for the center line, so let's transfer that while we're still young, like so. So now we have it there, and yeah, let's unclamp it on this end and see if we can move it out of the way like that, and we'll put this clamp here for now. And do you need to see me do that twice? No, I don't think you need to, but I'll just do it over on this side as well. I'll just align this. I'll just redraw it like so. Now we have the center line. Can put this back, and we can lift you up a bit, I think. Something like that, maybe. You can unclamp and put away the clamps. Or at least we can try. There we go. Oh, yeah. Routing is one of those things that takes the breath out of you. It's breathtaking. No, that wasn't funny. Anyway, now we can unclamp this. If we can. Yeah, we can. There we go. Perfect. And we can remove the tape. And we are done, actually, for this video, because I want to do the truss rod as its own separate video. Maybe no one is keen on that and thinking, ah, god damn it, there's a whole lot of nothing for nothing is all that it was. But there is, anyway. Whew. I'm gonna take a break now, I think. Here's the neck template, basically, or well, not template, but here's the basic neck. And now, you know, things like gluing on channel for the truss rod, gluing on the fretboard, reshaping it, you know, at least a little bit, so it's not sharp or square. And that's gonna be good. That's gonna be cool. That's gonna be nice. That's gonna be everything everyone has ever wanted in life. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, yeah. I also need to take a little bit of a break to think about the truss rod, because I'll tell you my thought, and that is that, you know, you either route a little channel here so it can sit like this, or you just let it be on the outside like this. But that just feels kind of wrong to me. But the neck is going to get glued in, so the pocket here, I'm going to have to make a little, you know, outcut in the body for the pocket. But it's going to be pressed in there anyway, so it's not like the truss rod is going to go anywhere. So I think I might just be overthinking it. Now, the reason why, I wanted to say this, by the way, I was almost forgot it. The reason why we did redrew those lines, even though we have a center line here, is because those redrawns, when you take it off, if you feel the neck and everything, you know that it's perfect. But you can match this up with the center line you've already drawn, and you can see if anything has changed. And if something has changed on this center line, you have to erase it and readjust it to these center line marks that you have here, because they are the new true center lines. You could say that you should that you didn't have to do this center line then, but that is also for like the grain of the wood. It's also for the structure of the neck. We didn't really talk about that super much. We talked a little bit about flipping the parts and things like that, but it's not super necessary in this build because we have a 3-piece neck, so we don't have to think about grain alignment and placing our template in a good way and drawing out lines and things like that. We're gonna make a 1-piece neck at some point and talk about grain alignments and alignments. Never mind, it's not important. It's not part of this video. Anyway, that's it. Let's jump into the Q&A and see if you guys had anything fun and interesting to ask me about cutting out the neck blank. So, see you. Bye. It's time for the Q&A. Hello and welcome to this video's Q&A. So, Jules Smith has asked. It's our first question of the series. Awesome, Joel. He is wondering, what are we looking for in the grain? The grain direction? Question mark. Question mark. Yes, so there are a lot of... He's asking about necks. And the thing is, you can have a lot of opinions about wood, but this is, what I gather, a structural question. It's only about the question of the structure. And what we want is a piece of wood that we are as close to 100% sure will not move. This means that we, in best case scenario, will have completely straight grain. We want a tight grain because that's the hard part of the wood. And we want an even spread. For example, do I have something I can use as an example? Here we have a guitar neck. If I have a lot of tight grain on this side and the opposite of tight grain, loose grain, I suppose you could call it, on this side, I might not want to use that piece of wood for a guitar neck because it might create unbalance in the neck, where one piece of wood is softer and can move more easily and the other side of the wood is harder. This might not cause any issues, but it can. And the thing is, you want to maximize the chance that nothing happens, nothing negative, that there isn't a situation you can't control, basically. Now, there are a couple of other things. So, I wouldn't use that piece. The grain structure is both in this direction, but also in this direction. So if we look at this neck here, you can see a grain pattern here as well as throughout the neck here. That's where things like, for example, quarter sawn or the other one comes into play. Now, I personally don't necessarily think that those things are super important. A neck won't move just because it's not quarter sawn or just because it is quarter sawn. But in the best case scenario, you would have grain going in one direction like this, and it would be super straight. This is going down the neck, so straight like this and straight like this. So you could think of it as a bundle of straws where nothing is deviating, it's just going the whole length through the neck. That's sort of what I look for when it comes to the grain structure of the wood. Now, that is not everything. Because sometimes you can make a neck out of a piece of wood that you're like, this neck could potentially, for example, be twisting if I use this piece. But then you split the piece down the middle, which if you've seen the videos, you've noticed that I do. I don't do it with this piece because I think it's gonna be an issue. I'm doing it with this because of the aesthetic choice of having a middle piece of a different wood. You can take a piece of wood that has grain that is moving in one direction and that seems like it might be wanting to twist. You can split that down the middle and you can crisscross the grain with itself so that it looks like both pieces would want to move out in separate directions like this. If this is confusing, just think of looking down the neck like this. And the glue is so strong that if the neck is trying to bow that way, it will also try to bow that way. And because you've basically made a mirrored symmetrical image, you've created a piece of wood that wants to go in both directions. It wants to go that way and go that way. And so it will stay still, technically. Now, obviously, that's not completely 100% true because wood is not a man-made material that is, 100% perfect. So if you have split a piece of wood and basically booked matched it all along the length of the neck, one piece can be stronger than the other, and even though it's the same piece of wood, pull the other one along with it and, for example, crack it or break it. So I've never had that happen, and I don't think it's something that happens that often, but it is technically possible. So the most important part is looking for a tight, straight grain and looking for a piece of wood that you know won't twist. And the way you know that is that you make sure you dry the wood. I like to try to get my wood down to under. I try to make sure I get my wood down to under 10%, especially when it comes to necks. And I like to plane my wood and leave it and check it and see if it's moving. For example, let's say you have a 5 centimeter thick slab of wood that you're going to make into a neck. Let's say you have a slab of wood that you're going to turn into a neck and it's 5 centimeters thick. You can, instead of milling it down to the 2 centimeters that you need to cut out your neck, you can take it down to 4 and make it perfectly straight and flat and check it, leave it for 24 hours, check it again and see if it's moved. And if it has moved, then you leave it to dry even longer. Maybe give it a month or something lying under your sofa in your living room or something like that, and see if it's moved even more. And if it's moved even more, then maybe you leave it to dry even more. And you check it and you go back and forth checking it. And then you mill it down another centimeter, getting it to 3 centimeters, and then you check it again. And eventually you'll notice that you have a piece of wood that doesn't seem to move. And when you measure the content of the moisture, you know that you see that you're under 10 and the wood doesn't seem to want to move. You know that you can start making a neck out of it. That's the sort of process that I do with most of my wood. I have pieces of wood that I sometimes tell you, like, this piece has been drying for 10 years. And that's because, there's been a process of selecting the wood and making sure it's dry. And that's also a reason why we always finish our wood, because of the sweat from our hands. We don't want it to affect the wood. We don't want the moisture in the air to affect the wood, and we we control our wood that way, basically. I think I'll say wood a lot now. It's a little bit weird, but yes. So yeah, it's not a completely answering your question because I'm talking about, you know, the dryness of the wood as well. But technically, if the piece of wood, if you can be 100% sure that it's never going to move, then the grain structure doesn't really matter. The issue is you can never be 100% sure it's not going to move because, especially if you're making a guitar for someone else, you don't know where that neck is going. You might make a neck for a person and you think, oh, well, they're just going to sit in their sofa playing the guitar, and so I don't have to think too much about it. And then that person all of a sudden, you know, decides, no, I want to start gigging, and they go out playing, and they are in a bar or in a barn, and you know, different locations, and all of a sudden the neck does move. So yeah, but this is something that even like professional high you know, Fenders or Gibsons or PRS guitars, they also struggle with this. They also have guitars that, you know, you think that wood wouldn't move, but it does. Things happen. But technically, I would say if you have a piece of wood, you know, a blank that you're going to cut out a neck, if you can look at it like this and see the grain structure like this, and you can see that they are very tight together, the dark lines and the white lines, that's good. And if you can look at the neck, the blank here, and see all moving in the same direction, straight, then that's good as well. And that's basically what I look for. Maybe I should also say that this is where things like, for example, flamed maple or bird's eye maple can come into place, because they're technically micro imperfections in the wood. There's a reason why you wouldn't necessarily use that sort of wood in structurally sound things, and that's because it's technically not as good. I know that people like that sort of wood, and you could debate that in a guitar it doesn't matter because it's not, the string pull is not strong enough to have an effect. But technically, you shouldn't want that in your guitar. Maybe. It's hard to say. But I hope this has been some sort of answer to your question. Thank you for asking. And until next time, stay awesome and cool.